As a brain doctor with years of experience studying stroke, memory loss, and cognitive decline, I've seen a lot. But one thing recently shocked me. Something so simple, so common, that many seniors eat it every single day. Thinking it's healthy. I'm talking about salted and roasted nuts, especially the kind that comes in shiny packages, flavored with honey, barbecue, or chili lime. Now, don't get me wrong. Nuts can be healthy, but many of these processed versions are loaded with sodium and unhealthy oils, and for seniors, this is dangerous. Why? Because high sodium levels spike your blood pressure, sometimes overnight, and high blood pressure is the what risk factor for stroke in older adults. As we age, our blood vessels naturally lose some flexibility. Add too much salt, and you're pushing your arteries to the limit. A sudden rise in blood pressure can lead to a clot or even a hemorrhage in the brain. I've seen patients come into the ER after a stroke, and all they did was eat a handful of spicy mixed nuts while watching TV. So what can you do? First, choose wisely. Go for raw or dry roasted nuts with no added salt or sugar. Walnuts, almonds, and pistachios are full of brain-boosting omega-3s and antioxidant. Second, hydrate, move, and rest. Drink enough water. Walk at least 30 minutes a day, and get regular sleep. These simple habits are powerful tools in stroke prevention. Lastly, read your labels. If a snack has more than 150 milligrams of sodium per serving, put it back. You have the power to protect your brain, your memory, and your independence, starting with the choices you make today. Many people, especially seniors, are advised to snack on nuts as a healthy alternative to processed junk food. And in general, nuts can be incredibly beneficial, rich in healthy fats, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. But what's often overlooked is how those nuts are prepared. The average person isn't reaching for raw, unsalted almonds or natural walnuts. They're grabbing the mixed nuts that come in convenient cans or packets, roasted, heavily salted, and sometimes coated with sweet or spicy flavorings. And here's the shocking part. These processed versions can raise your blood pressure within hours of eating them, especially if you already have underlying conditions common in older adults. Let's break down what's actually happening. When nuts are roasted, especially in oils, their natural healthy fats can get damaged, leading to the formation of compounds that aren't so good for your heart or your brain. But the bigger culprit? Sodium. Most roasted or flavored nuts have a high amount of added salt. Some brands contain up to 250-300 mg of sodium per small handful. That may not sound like much, but for seniors who already struggle with high blood pressure, even a few hundred milligrams extra can tip the balance. Remember, the recommended daily sodium limit for older adults is around 1,500 milligrams per day, and that adds up fast. Now, imagine a senior who snacks on these nuts in the evening while watching TV. They've already had a salty lunch, maybe canned soup or cheese, and now they're adding another dose of sodium late in the day, when blood pressure tends to be naturally higher, overnight, while the body is trying to rest. This spike in sodium causes blood vessels to constrict, the heart to work harder, and the risk of a stroke increases significantly, especially in individuals with stiff arteries or a history of cardiovascular problems. This isn't just theory. Hospitals see strokes happen in the early morning hours all the time. One of the silent contributors can be what the person ate the night before. There's also another layer to consider: the oils used in roasting. Many commercial nuts are roasted in cheap, refined vegetable oils like soybean or canola oil. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which, when consumed in excess, can promote inflammation in the body. For seniors, chronic inflammation is not just a buzzword. It's directly linked to conditions like Alzheimer's, heart disease, and yes, stroke. So now you have a combination of too much salt, damaged fats, and inflammatory oils all packed into a food that most people think is healthy. That's a dangerous misunderstanding. Papi served. Oh, oh, oh. It's also worth noting that some flavored nuts contain added sugars, artificial flavorings, and preservatives, which can further complicate blood sugar regulation and cause metabolic stress. Again, particularly risky for older adults, who may already be managing conditions like type 2 diabetes or high cholesterol. All of this adds up to one sobering truth. Not all nuts are created equal. And for seniors, the difference between raw almonds and chili lime roasted peanuts can literally be life-threatening. And the problem is, this danger is hidden. When someone picks up a packet labeled Heart Healthy Mix or sees an ad promoting nuts as a brain-boosting snack, they don't stop to check the sodium content or the type of oil used. But the human body, especially in later years, is more sensitive to these seemingly small choices. What you eat at 65 doesn't process the same way as it did at 35. Your arteries are less elastic. Your kidneys don't regulate sodium as efficiently. And your risk of stroke is exponentially higher. That's why something as small as a handful of the wrong kind of nuts can be a ticking time bomb for the brain. Seniors need clear, honest information, not just buzzwords and branding. It's not about fear, it's about awareness. Because when you know better, you can choose better. As we grow older, our bodies go through many changes. Some are visible, like gray hair or slower movement, and others are silent, but far more dangerous, like the changes in our cardiovascular system. Among the most serious threats to older adults is the risk of stroke. Every year, millions of seniors around the world suffer strokes, many of which could have been prevented. What many people don't realize is that one of the most powerful contributors to stroke risk is something we do every single day: eat. The foods we consume directly impact our blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar levels, and overall vascular health. And for seniors, who are already at increased risk due to age changes, diet becomes one of the most important factors in stroke prevention. When we eat, we're not just fueling our bodies, we're influencing the health of our blood vessels. Over time, poor dietary habits, like eating too much salt, unhealthy fats, and processed sugars, can cause damage to the inner lining of our arteries. This leads to a buildup of plaque, stiffening of blood vessels, and chronic inflammation. The result? High blood pressure, a condition that affects more than 70% of people over the age of 60. High blood pressure, or hypertension, is the single most significant risk factor for stroke. It weakens the arteries, making them more prone to rupture or blockage, both of which can cut off blood supply to the brain, causing permanent damage or death within minutes. But what's even more concerning is how subtle the dangers can be. Seniors may think they're eating reasonably well, especially if they've cut back on fried foods or sweets. But what many don't realize is that common foods marketed as healthy, like flavored nuts, canned vegetables, frozen meals, and even certain soups, can be loaded with sodium. This excess salt causes the body to retain water, increases the volume of blood flowing through the arteries, and forces the heart to work harder. Over time, this chronic pressure damages artery walls, especially in the brain. Even a modest increase in sodium intake can raise blood pressure significantly in older adults, who often have reduced kidney function and less vascular elasticity. It's not just about salt. Saturated fats, often found in red meats, full-fat dairy, and processed snacks, contribute to the development of atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of the arteries. This condition restricts blood flow and makes it easier for clots to form. and when a clot travels to the brain, it can block an artery and cause an ischemic stroke. Alternatively, weakened arteries under high pressure may burst, leading to a hemorrhagic stroke. Both types are devastating, and both are influenced heavily by diet. One of the most alarming realities is how quickly these risk factors can escalate. A senior who eats salty or fatty meals for just a few weeks may see a rise in blood pressure or cholesterol levels. And since stroke symptoms can come on suddenly, often without warning, the danger is very real. Unlike other chronic diseases that progress slowly, a stroke can happen overnight, during sleep, or even while performing routine tasks. That's why prevention is key, and that prevention begins in the kitchen. Fortunately, the flip side is also true. Diet can be a powerful tool for reducing stroke risk. Seniors who adopt heart-healthy eating habits, rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats, can significantly lower their risk. Studies have shown that even small changes, like cutting back on processed foods, avoiding salty snacks, and drinking more water, can make a noticeable difference in blood pressure and vascular health. Many seniors are surprised to learn that something as simple as a high-sodium snack in the evening or a fatty lunch can have a real, measurable effect on stroke risk. Understanding this connection is vital. When we begin to see food not just as fuel, but as medicine, or, in some cases, as a potential threat, we become more empowered to make choices that protect our long-term brain and heart health. Nuts have long been praised as a superfood, and for good reason. They're rich in healthy fats, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals that support various aspects of health, especially heart and brain function. For seniors, the right kind of nut can be a game changer when it comes to maintaining cognitive function, reducing inflammation, and lowering the risk of stroke or other cardiovascular events. However, the key phrase here is the right kind of nut. Not all nuts are created equal. And when it comes to older adults, choosing wisely can mean the difference between supporting brain health and unknowingly contributing to long-term damage. Let's start with what makes nuts beneficial. Most raw and unsalted nuts contain unsaturated fats, including monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, which help reduce bad cholesterol levels and support healthy circulation. Good circulation is essential for the brain, as it ensures a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients. Some nuts, like walnuts and almonds, are particularly rich in vitamin E and omega-3 fatty acids. These compounds have been associated with better memory, reduced cognitive decline, and a lower risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Walnuts are especially notable in this regard. They contain high levels of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that has been shown to reduce inflammation and support brain cell function. Studies suggest that regular walnut consumption may lead to better performance on memory tests, particularly in older adults. Almonds are also powerful allies. They're rich in vitamin E, an antioxidant that protects brain cells from oxidative stress and age damage. Pistachios, cashews, and hazelnuts offer similar benefits, each contributing different antioxidants, minerals, and beneficial fats. However, the form in which these nuts are consumed makes all the difference. Raw or dry roasted nuts with no added salt or sugar provide these benefits in their purest form. But when nuts are roasted in oil, heavily salted, or coated in sweet or spicy flavorings, their health profile changes drastically. The added sodium can spike blood pressure, which is especially dangerous for seniors at risk of stroke. High blood pressure strains the blood vessels, including those in the brain, and can lead to ruptures or blockages. That's why salted nuts, though often marketed as heart-healthy snacks, can actually undermine brain and heart health in older adults if consumed regularly. Another concern is sugar-coated nuts. While they may taste appealing, nuts covered in honey, chocolate, or candy shells can cause blood sugar spikes. This is particularly risky for seniors with type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance. Unstable blood sugar levels can damage blood vessels over time and increase the risk of both stroke and cognitive decline. Additionally, excessive sugar consumption has been linked to chronic inflammation, which negatively affects brain health and accelerates aging, cognitive decline. Choosing the right kind of nut, therefore, becomes more than just a dietary preference. It becomes a protective habit. For seniors, incorporating small portions of raw, unsalted nuts into the daily diet can support overall brain function, improve cholesterol levels, and reduce the risk of high blood pressure. A small handful, about 1 ounce per day, is enough to deliver benefits without contributing to weight gain or excessive calorie intake. And pairing nuts with other brain-friendly foods like berries, leafy greens, and whole grains can multiply their positive effects. The good news is that making these choices doesn't require drastic changes. Simply replacing that can of mixed salted nuts with a bag of raw almonds or walnuts can be a simple but powerful step. Keeping pre-portioned servings of healthy nuts on hand, avoiding flavored varieties, and reading labels for added salt, oil, or sugar content can help seniors make more informed decisions. Over time, these small daily habits add up, supporting not just brain health, but a longer, more vibrant life. Preventing strokes in seniors doesn't require complicated routines or expensive supplements. In fact, it often comes down to a series of simple daily habits that anyone can adopt. These habits, when practiced consistently, can dramatically reduce the risk of stroke and support overall brain and heart health. What matters most is awareness and consistency for older adults, especially those with existing health concerns like high blood pressure or diabetes. Even small lifestyle changes can lead to significant health improvements. One of the most overlooked but powerful habits is reducing sodium intake. Salt is everywhere, in canned foods, processed snacks, frozen meals, salad dressings, and even so-called healthy snacks. For seniors, whose kidneys may not process sodium as efficiently as they once did, this is a serious concern. Too much salt leads to fluid retention, which increases blood pressure and puts extra strain on arteries. Over time, this pressure can damage blood vessels and make them more vulnerable to rupture or blockage, both of which can cause a stroke. Seniors should aim to keep their daily sodium intake below 1,500 milligrams. This means checking food labels, cooking at home when possible, and using herbs or lemon juice instead of salt to flavor meals. Another critical habit is staying hydrated. Dehydration is surprisingly common among seniors. As people age, the sense of thirst becomes less reliable, and medications like diuretics can further contribute to fluid loss. When the body is dehydrated, blood becomes thicker, which increases the risk of clot formation, a major cause of stroke. Drinking enough water throughout the day keeps the blood flowing smoothly and supports all of the body's natural processes, including circulation and cognitive function. Aiming for 6 to 8 glasses of water daily is a reasonable goal, though individual needs may vary based on activity level and medication. Physical activity is also essential. The idea that seniors should slow down and rest more may be well-intentioned, but in reality, regular movement is one of the most effective tools for stroke prevention. Daily walks, gentle stretching, or low-impact exercises like swimming or Tai Chi can improve circulation, regulate blood pressure, strengthen the heart, and even reduce stress. Another silent contributor to stroke risk, just 30 minutes of moderate activity per day can make a noticeable difference in overall vascular health. For those with limited mobility, chair exercises or guided movement routines can still offer benefits. Sleep also plays a major role in stroke prevention. Chronic sleep deprivation or poor quality sleep contributes to high blood pressure, obesity, and even irregular heartbeat, all of which are risk factors for stroke. Seniors should aim for 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep each night. Creating a bedtime routine, limiting screen use before sleep, and keeping the bedroom dark and quiet can promote deeper, more restorative rest. If sleep issues persist, such as snoring or frequent waking, a medical evaluation may be necessary, as conditions like sleep apnea significantly increase stroke risk. Diet, of course, ties everything together. Beyond limiting salt, seniors should focus on eating a balanced, whole food diet, rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats. Leafy greens, berries, fatty fish like salmon, and raw nuts are especially good for supporting brain function and reducing inflammation. Avoiding trans fats, sugary foods, and heavily processed meals is just as important. The goal is not perfection, but consistency. Each healthy choice builds upon the last, gradually strengthening the body's defenses against stroke. Lastly, managing stress is often overlooked but critically important. Chronic stress triggers a release of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which elevate blood pressure and heart rate. For seniors, techniques like deep breathing, meditation, prayer, or even spending time in nature can have a calming effect on both the brain and the cardiovascular system. Emotional health is just as important as physical health, especially in the context of stroke prevention. When the mind is at ease, the body follows. So, what began as a surprising truth about one common snack, salted processed nuts, has opened a much bigger conversation about the daily choices that shape our brain and heart health. For seniors, stroke is not an inevitable part of aging. It is, in many cases, preventable. By understanding how diet, hydration, sleep, movement, and stress management all play a role, we empower ourselves to make smarter decisions every single day. It's not about fear, it's about awareness. By choosing the right kind of food, especially brain-boosting snacks like raw, unsalted nuts, and practicing simple, healthy habits, we can protect the brain, maintain independence, and enjoy more vibrant years ahead. The smallest change today could be the one that prevents a stroke tomorrow. Let's take that step, one smart habit at a time.